folks. Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 17. In this show, we cover Linux and all of its parts, or whatever we can think of, at least. We try to cover everything. And we try to give a entertaining, informative show for anybody who's interested in getting into Linux, or just likes Linux already, or has never even heard of Linux. It's basically a Linux educational program. And joining us, of course, is our co-host, the amazing doortodoorgeek.com, Steve McLaughlin.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm actually doing pretty good. I had a day off today from work. Thankfully, my kids had school. So I actually got a lot of work today done on Ubuntu because I really wanted to do it in 10.10. I didn't want to do it, and then weeks later there's a new Ubuntu version. So I basically waited, and I did a lot of work today in 10.10. And then right there near the end, I think I might have broke something, but I think I'll be okay.
Well, tell everybody what Podbuntu is first.
Podbuntu is a community-based Ubuntu spun version that's all about podnutz. Everything from easy access to Amazon.com/podnutz.com/Amazon, eBay, Newegg, and already ascribed to the Podnutz family of podcast. Direct, quick links to Podnutz Twitter feed. Direct access to email, to the schedules, to the show, to the forums, to the IRC.
So awesome. And the home version's only $99, and professional version's only $149 for limited time.
Exactly, and it comes loaded with DRM.
No, we're actually having a special from now till eternity. It's free.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Dor. I can't wait to see it now. Well, so what happened to it? You said you broke it.
I was altering the boot splash screen.
Yeah. And
I typed a command wrong, and I didn't realize it until I rebooted. And then what was coming up was the Ubuntu boot splash screen.
Oh, man, I hate when that happens.
And now I can't get it to change, but I still know a backdoor trick to get around that, so we'll be okay.
All right, cool. I like it. Can't wait. Thanks for doing that, by the way.
Oh, no problem. It's not only a learning experience, but I always tell, and this is one thing I just wanted to say, no one, it seems like, ever listens to this one line that I say and many other people say. If this is your first true dabble into Linux, you should always install Linux Mint. Nobody does. They all said, well, my friend told me to install this. Well, my cousin told me to install Red Hat, and all these kind of things. And then they wonder why they're having problems.
Okay.
My goal is to make Ubuntu more friendly. It already is pretty friendly, but my goal is to make it more friendly for the new user and give people direct, quick access to good information as far as I see it.
But why do you bring that up about Mint?
Because there's a couple of things about Mint I really do not like. You cannot upgrade from version to version to a version. They're getting ready to release version 9. And if you want to get version 9 and you're already on version 8, you basically have to back up everything, blank, reinstall, and then restore data.
So you're saying you do like Mint or you don't like Mint?
I don't like it for that reason.
But you still think every noob should run it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just because it's the closest thing to being up and running from boot time done. The other thing I don't like about it is it seems like it's a little bit heavier than Ubuntu. Ubuntu seems a little bit lighter. And when I spin the distro, it's already going to come with all the codecs that you need, everything vital to make it a usable, functional operating system from day one.
Cool. All right, so what do you have on the agenda for this week? Stuff you want to go over? You sent me a nice little list of notes here.
Yeah. First, I wanted to bring up was another conference that I can't go to.
Oh, man. Poor Dor.
But it definitely sounded cool. It's going to be up, honestly, I think it's a couple hours from Russ, but I think it's close because we always talk about Russ.
You have to talk about Russ.
Have to talk about Russ.
Let's get the Russ talk out of the way now.
Exactly. And honestly, two other people told me about this because I was invited to a Geek Nick last Sunday, which I couldn't attend.
I went to a Geek Nick last year.
Yeah, you went to the arcade one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely sounded cool. This one was basically in a park, and just couldn't. It was a little bit too far away. Wife had a long night the night before, helping with a wedding kind of thing, so just didn't happen. And the guy mentioned this one, and I still haven't found that one golden site where I go to and it lists every open source Linux, BSD, Unix conference that is available.
Right.
I found a couple sites. They're always either missing something or they're talking about something that's already been canceled. But
what's this one?
This one is the Central PA Open Source Conference, and this is at cposc.org.
I love how you find all these Pennsylvania things the month after I move out.
It wasn't intentional, I swear. It just seems like it. Well, it seems like more stuff happens PA, Jersey, Delaware, than to the south of me, like in Virginia, West Virginia, kind of thing. So there seems to be a lot of activity up there. This conference is at the Harrisburg University in downtown Harrisburg.
Yeah.
It's only one day. October 16th on Saturday, and it is like an all-day event. It goes, I want to say it said from like 11 a.m. till around 10 at night.
Wow, it looks 21 speakers, 3 tracks, 1 awesome day. What do you think about tracks? Do you think it's a good thing? I always feel like I'm missing something.
Well, part of the thing they want you to do is they want you to feel like you're missing something so you can come back next year.
Oh, really?
Tracks, I think, are good just because they could have like a web development track. They can have a desktop track, and then they can have a cloud. I mean, they can split up different ideals into different tracks to where you jump from room to room to room, but you're still in the same philosophy. Yeah. And I mean, if you look at the schedule, there's no reason why you can't say, well, I'm going to go from this to that to this to that, and just jump all around. Tracks are just a way that they try to filter ideals and ideas. I did take a look at some of the speakers, and I did take a look at some of the talks that were going on. They definitely look good. One of the things that no conference site puts any focus on is what they call BOFs. And a BOF is a bird of a feather, which basically means in a hallway, a couple guys get together and start talking about something that they all relate to. They're birds of a feather. So sometimes the best talks are impromptu talks that aren't scheduled.
Okay.
And I know more than a couple people at more than a couple events said, they were almost as good as the actual talks, or they were better. So don't always take a look at their website and take that as face value. It's the people that go that really make the event.
I see.
This is a one-day event. I can tell you the standard ticket price is $35. And the friend of the CPOSC is $60. I can tell you they made it very clear on their website. This is a nonprofit thing. All the money gathered goes into open source development and for the future of this conference.
Very cool. Looks great. Yeah. Of course, I never heard of it. Of course.
I didn't before 3 days ago.
Oh man, I missed.
And that's the thing. There are key conferences that everybody says are the conferences to go to.
Yeah.
There are so many smaller conferences where, to be honest, I think I would be more comfortable. I think I would fit in more.
It'd be more fun.
Yeah. I think because and I know, and and I know, after these conferences, a horde of people, like a herd of cattle, go across the street to a bar, and then they just basically sit around, have a couple beers, and just talk crap.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I haven't been to that conference yet, but that's the one I want to go to because at PodCamp Philly it was kind of lame.
Mike Tech also didn't sound very enthused about the event when it was done, and I think it was because they were trying to make it too much of a professional event and not about having fun kind of thing.
I see.
Just a personal belief. But I know South by Southwest, that's the one you can't get in a bar. It's not a Linux conference. It's a social conference. You can't get into a bar. They're so packed.
That seems to me like a crowded frat party. I don't know if I'm going to go to that.
Yeah, I heard a couple people this year say they believe since Leo rode the
crowd surf.
The crowd surf now, that's like jumping the shark.
I agree.
Now that conference is dead and it's over.
I agree. Hey, let's branch off on a little side thing real quick. Because did you watch The Social Network? Did you see it yet?
Honestly, I think I'd rather have a hot poker up my butt.
Really? I watched it last night. I rather enjoyed it.
Well, the only things about it I don't like is I know the writer, the director, and the main actor have never used Facebook. And I know that it isn't completely factual. Now, if they build it as a fictional movie, I think I would have been interested to see it. But they kind of put off like this is...
Just watch it. I'm telling you. I totally am tracking with what you're saying. And after all the things I heard from all these people, like especially like some of the... Anyway, I thought it was going to be bad, and it just wasn't. I thought it was quite entertaining.
Well, I do know that writer does very good work. And to be honest, I kind of like that main actor.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to ask you that. All right. Let's go back to your notes here.
And with the kids, it's kind of hard to get out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, if it's a Disney movie, I'm there. I hate saying it, but we went and saw Nemo, Toy Story 3, and all that stuff.
The animated version of The Social Network.
Yeah.
The Disney version, the Pixar version.
Oy vey.
All right, what else do we got here?
I wanted to highlight just something really quick. I remember when we were talking to Klaatu.
Yeah.
He mentioned how he toyed with Blender.
Yes.
And I kind of knew about Blender. I had an idea about Blender. Understood I don't understand Blender, but I wasn't really aware of everything that was going on with Blender. He told us about, tools you can buy that come preloaded. You can buy a movie and it basically has how the movie was made on the disc and you yourself can duplicate it, which is kind of fascinating.
And tutorials on how to use Blender.
Right. To me, that idea was just kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like, come join us. And he gave me a link and he made it clear, not appropriate for little kids. There's a little bit of blood in this, and it's at a site called sintel.org, SINTELORG. This is a full-length feature film done in nothing but Blender.
Wow.
You can watch it on YouTube if you want, or you can download insane, high-quality DivX movies, I believe is what they want.
Damn, this thing looks awesome. I'm fascinated with Blender.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, it's like me getting out of my car and someone else getting in it and handling it in such a way, I'm just dumbfounded. It's like, I didn't know my car could do that.
Don't Blender, guys. I know what you're saying, Dor. It's got a tough time with the interface. Okay, maybe, and I know why. I've heard that too, and I've bought Blender for Dummies a couple months ago, and I started messing around with it. The interface is not that bad. You just need to learn the shortcuts and stuff. It's quite intuitive, but it's got to be how it is. I mean, it's a good interface. It's just not what people are used to. That's the only thing, and it's just the program just does so much, and there's a lot to 3D animation, which is that's what it really does. It's 3D animation and like photorealistic rendering of objects. So you could just take a ball, like a sphere, and create a sphere in Blender, and that's not that hard to do. And all the magic comes in the rendering. So you don't have to really be an extreme artist to make some cool stuff in Blender. You just mess around, watch some of the YouTube videos just on Blender. Type Blender and then 3D and different things. It's amazing. I'm just fascinated by it. I love it. And this looks crazy good.
Yeah, I'll just say it isn't like a word processor, something that we all kind of have an idea with. You jump in and you can get stuff done. It does take a little bit of knowledge, but if you have the desire to want to do 3D animation,
Yeah.
I honestly don't feel like there is a better tool to get into, because anything you learn, you can take anywhere and use. You don't have to
Right.
tell, like, even if you're doing office style work and you hear over here somebody needs something, you don't have to go to the boss and say, well, I could do it, but you got to spend $1,000 on software.
Right.
No, you can do it.
Right.
And I can tell you they are working on a high def version of this, the movie.
Wow.
Right now, it is at the biggest size for the standard file format. It's 270 megs. Ain't bad. I download more than that in a day on my phone. The OGG is 828 megabytes. They said it's a little bit crisper, but anybody can go download it. They are also going to sell DVDs. So if you think this is something that deserves attention and a little bit of income from you, pre-order those DVDs and you will help support these guys to put out more quality stuff.
Yeah. It's a professional product, 3D animation product. It was created, I think, in the Netherlands for a professional 3D animation company who basically went out of business and then decided to give their software away. So it's pro stuff. Let me pull up Cinto. Let me see if it's released, right? Is it on IMDb? Let's see if it's on IMDb.
I honestly don't know if it's on IMDb. I know you can freely. It is. Okay.
It got 7.7 stars. Check it out.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and this is like, just to me, more proof. Free does not mean crappy. Free just means free.
Right.
It has the possibility of being fantastic or bad, but this has been tuned for so long. This is a project that's been around for a pretty good amount of time. It's went through, some hard times, I'm sure, and now it's getting pretty tightly tuned.
Cool. Great one. Great site.
Yeah, and I will not lie, I was tempted to start to dabble in it. Then I stopped and thought, I don't know how much time I have.
That's where it all comes down to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a spinning podnutz logo for the intro for the video shows, and that's why I wanted to learn it. And then, it does take a lot of time, so that's why you don't see a spinning logo yet. But you'll see one soon.
Right.
All right.
And the next thing I want to talk about is something I basically feel like I have to talk about. And that is Ubuntu 10.10 got released. It is out in its full version. Anyone can go now and download it.
Cool.
Not surprisingly, I already downloaded it and I already have it installed.
And
the first thing I just gotta say straight out, and it ain't just me, Max Timon and like 2 other people validated me on this. On the exact same computer with 10.04 installed, after installing 10.10, everything looks easily better.
Really?
One of the things I know Ubuntu did, and I don't think it's getting a lot of attention, they paid an outside company to create a new font. And I don't know what kind of...
oh, good. That's the one thing. I never liked the Linux font. I'm sorry, not the Linux, the Ubuntu font.
Well, honestly, I can tell you, on every version of Linux I've installed, if I've stayed with that version for any length of time, I've always went and installed new fonts because they just didn't appear, I guess, crisp enough or something to me. This, I don't know what kind of voodoo they got going on in this font. I have never in my life seen my computer appear as sharp.
Really?
And to be honest, the first place I noticed it, and that's because I go there 50 times a day, was the podnutz forums, because it's a pretty light but not white background against a dark font. And I accidentally hit Control and I did my scroll, which made the font go bigger and smaller.
Yeah.
And I noticed, I said, dear God, this looks good. And then I just jumped around to different apps and I just could not, I honestly still am kind of in shock. Right now I'm looking at a 10.04 version, and I can tell the difference. Even in Google Docs, the fonts do not look as good.
Wow.
It is a very, very pleasant experience. and that's just the fonts.
Man, okay, so I'm going to watch the Eagles, and then I'm going to install this. So I have two things to do tonight.
Gotcha. And I did want to highlight a OMG ubuntu.co.uk. This is a site where, to be honest, I got a lot of my information from, and they went through a little highlights on what is in this distro. If you just go there and search for Ubuntu 10.10 Maverick Meerkat released.
It's the first. It's the first posting. It should be right on the homepage.
Good. Well, that was easy. They basically go through a list of features, and I did want to highlight a couple of them. The first thing I want to highlight is when you do the install, the installer has changed. If you haven't tried Ubuntu in a year or two, the first thing it does now when you boot the CD up and ask for the language, it asks you in a very pretty interface, do you want to install it or do you want to try it? Little piece of advice. Even if you hit try it, you can install it. What I typically do is I typically hit try, then I open up gparted and I manage my partitions, and then I install it. I just prefer that interface to do that.
Okay.
The other thing I want to talk about real quick is the panel bar at the very top. It's one of those things, if you don't actually actively go and look at this stuff, you could use it for months and not know or understand what's going on. The default audio player for Ubuntu is Rhythmbox. Rhythmbox is a pretty competent jukebox type player. I don't appreciate the pod catching capabilities of it, but I really like the playlist feature of it and the party mode feature of it. Party mode is you double click a song, it starts playing, you double click a second song and it automatically puts it in a queue. And then you can keep clicking songs and it just keeps putting it in the queue, so you can easily on the fly just do a playlist.
Okay.
With no thought, no extra clicks, no nothing.
Cool.
And that is functionally now built in to that panel bar when you're playing something in Rhythmbox and you go to the volume meter up there. You get a little window-ette, I would call it. It's not a full window, and it's bigger than like a bubble.
Yeah.
But in there, it tells you the song that's currently playing, and it gives you pause, previous, and next buttons built right into the interface.
Wow.
So you can have it running on one desktop, go to a different desktop, do work, and really quickly skip songs, adjust volume, pause the play, and you don't have to go back to the other desktop.
Wait a minute, I lost you on that. How do you do that?
Well, you have the multiple desktops in Ubuntu, the virtual desktops.
Okay.
And you don't have to jump back and forth from one desktop to another.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So since it's in the top bar, you don't have to jump around.
Right, because that's in every.
I see.
Every screen.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah. I want to talk real quick about one failing in Ubuntu 10.10. And it isn't really a failing, it's just a sputtered start, let's say. and that is the paid apps in the Ubuntu Software Center. And I didn't say that right. Let me say it again. Paid app in the Ubuntu Software Center.
What's the paid app? Who's the first culprit?
Well, there's only one, and it's technically, while they bill it as an app, it's technically not an app you're buying. You're buying codecs. It's the Fluendo DVD application.
They could stick it.
Well,
why not just use VLC?
Well, technically, everybody who has Ubuntu installed and has the ability on their computer to watch a DVD, play an MP3, or something like that, they're kind of breaking the law. Ubuntu themselves never paid a licensing fee to those patent holders. And neither did you or me when we downloaded VLC or any other application to play those tunes.
So lame.
Fluendo I'll tell you now, Fluendo interprets most of the media. It does better than most of the drivers you can get on your own.
How much does it cost?
I don't know, because I didn't go that far, because I break the law. Now I'll say the standard ones do a good enough job. It isn't that they do a bad job. It's just, this is a company who's trying to make money by obeying the law. And I praise them for that, but I'm not giving them money. And there's only one app. They could have at least put a game in there or something, because there's always games out there that people are buying on Linux and other people don't even know it exists. But yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I went to Fluendo's website, and it's $25.
Gotcha. Which, if you're coming from Windows is $100 for the cheapest one. A quarter of the price. Look at it as a donation.
I guess you could say that. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
And if they do really well with their donation, then everybody's going to want a donation.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of lame. I mean, I guess if you look at it like you said, though, as like an upgrade from VLC, it's just a better decoder, then maybe it's worth it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on very low end hardware, you might actually be able to see a physical difference in these codecs. Another thing I wanted to mention, which I forgot, was during the install now, there's a checkbox when it now does like a hardware compatibility test. Do you have enough hardware to run this? Do you have enough hard drive space to run this? And at the very bottom, there's a checkbox that says, it actually says, let me get the exact verbiage, I don't want to say it wrong. It gives you the availability to install extra media support, as it puts it. The sad thing is it doesn't really install the media that people need.
What does it do?
Because, the real package that people need to experience the computer like they should, it's called Ubuntu Restricted Extras, and that's the name of the package. It has Flash in there, MP3, MOV, ACC, all that in one block. Checking that box installs Ubuntu Restricted Plugin, I believe, and I'm not completely positive what it did. I can tell you, in my browser, alternate videos that were not Flash were playing without me touching anything, but I still went back after that and I still installed Ubuntu Restricted Extras, just so I had all the full support of everything I need to get my job done during the day without hassle.
So it doesn't seem like a big deal.
It really isn't. It's just one of those things. If you see it and during the install, you might think it does more than it actually does. It's not bad to check it. I would still check it when I install it. On this box I'm on now, I'll check it again. It can't be bad. Sure.
I mean, it's not taking up that much more space either, I bet.
Oh God, no. If I had to guess, I'd say 100K, 200K.
Okay, it's nothing.
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about on that panel menu that a lot of people easily, and I mean very easily, overlook, it's called the Me menu. The Me menu is a link to anything social, and I don't mean only Facebook and Twitter, but email and IM even. The first thing I do with every Ubuntu install is I install Pigeon, because I like the fact that Pigeon can access anything.
Right.
So it doesn't come standard on Ubuntu, but if I have Pigeon open and someone PMs me or pings me in there, the Me menu will show I have a unread message. So that menu is honestly so intelligent, it's picking up on stuff that wasn't even installed from the factory, kind of thing.
So it recognizes that Pigeon got a message?
Yeah, to me. Huh. But the real power of this Me menu, I'll tell you, is you can subscribe and post status updates to Dig, Twitter, status.net, Ping FM, Kwaku, I don't know what that is, Facebook, FriendFeed, Buzz, Flickr, and Identica. I have a video that I'm linking to, but I can tell you I'm linking to 2 minutes and 43 seconds into the video on YouTube, and the video is called Configure Gwibber and the Me Menu in Ubuntu.
Okay. So let me just see if I get it straight. So it's basically like a client that can well, it's not a chat client because it interfaces with things that aren't necessarily chat. Okay.
Yeah.
But it allows you to message any of those services from the Me menu
and receive messages from any of those services. Honestly, I don't blame anyone who cannot wrap their head around this, because Mac has nothing like this. Windows has nothing like this. No other Linux distro has anything like this. This really is close to a complete package. Oh, and it can connect to your email, to Empathy. So if you get an email, this will let you. This can connect to almost any internet thing that you can subscribe to. That menu can recognize and then notify you of an update or let you post a new status to those services. This is and it all is powered by Gwibber, which I can say I've used off and on for 4 years. It has came so far. It is such a smooth interface to easily look at, especially Twitter, Facebook, Ping, Identica, in a interface that's so easy to comprehend and move around and search and filter and retweet and reply and quote. It really, to me, is one of the best clients for that kind of activity.
Wow. And you don't have to go to all the sites.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, like on Windows, you have like Twirl and TweetDeck, and you have a lot of tools that only hit one of those little niches.
Yeah.
And I believe Gwibber will also do inline picture displaying for Twitter. I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it does. And like on my phone, it's one of the things I hate. I can have Twitter clients, I can have Buzz clients, I can have Identica clients, and I can have Facebook clients, but I can't find that one client that just smashes everything together and easily lets me control all of them.
Well, this does it on Ubuntu, but it's still not for your Android phone.
Right. Okay. And I got to say, this is the one tool. If you find yourself even moderately addicted to the feeds of social content, like a Dig or a Twitter or a Facebook, that alone might be a good enough reason for you to try Ubuntu.
So you can't get Gwibber for earlier versions of Ubuntu, or it's not as good?
Well, you can, but it doesn't have that Me menu integration.
Gotcha.
I believe it was on 10.10. I don't think it was. I mean, it was for 10.4, but I don't think it was on 9.10.
Okay.
And it's one of those things, if you don't touch it, you could go months and months and months and not really know what you're missing. So I highly encourage people to, go to YouTube, search for that video, try to understand what that menu is, because it really does open up a world of possibilities for your day-to-day computer activity.
Okay. Sweet. Gwibber. I like it.
Yeah, it's actually one of those tools. It has came so far, and it's done it so quietly, because nobody really talks about it unless you are a Identica person in the past, because they didn't have a lot of good tools to use.
I see.
Because everybody with Twitter had their TweetDeck and their Tweety and all these tools.
Right.
Which to be honest, I tried all those tools and I could not stand any of them, because to me it was difficult to search or find. Like, if I saw on my phone, I missed a tweet from you 30 minutes ago, those tools made it nearly impossible for me to easily go back 20 minutes and find your tweet so I could so I could retweet it.
Huh.
Gwibber made it very easy.
Wow. That's great, man.
Right, now for the downside, which I say it's a downside, but a lot of people say it's a plus. This is Linux-only software. There's a two-sided argument for cross-platform software. Some people are of the belief if it's cross-platform, that's another reason why somebody doesn't have to switch over to Linux. I kind of don't agree with that. I think it should be cross-platform so people on other platforms can see, well, I could use this on Linux as well.
I agree with you on that. I've run many cross-platform programs with your mindset.
Right. And I mean, to me, there is no really right answer. It's always going to come down to what you believe. Kind of like the word best. And I went over this a lot of times with a lot of people. There is no best Linux distro. There is no best car. There is no best TV service. It's what's best for you.
Right.
What appeals to you, what fits your needs. And I gotta say, Ubuntu is the preeminent starting point for any new user, but Linux Mint kind of does complete that circle. And I really wish people would give that one a try first.
You keep stressing that. Why?
I know, because
have you gotten emails or something saying like, I tried doing this, I tried running that, and these were not Mint distros, and now it just really is in your mind?
Well, I don't want to call them out on it, but yeah, I've gotten like 3 in the last week where they said, well, my brother told me to try PC Linux OS, which is a perfectly fine version of Linux, but I absolutely insist it should not be anyone's first primary dive into Linux. One of the things that distro tries to do is it tries to be PC. It tries to have heavy integration into Wine. The menus are kind of Windows-esque, and the overall color scheme is Windows-esque. And to be honest, Windows is not an intuitive operating system. And I've gotten into arguments with this. There's no such thing as an intuitive operating system. You always have to learn an operating system. No one sits down and says, I can do anything on this computer. It's so intuitive.
No, I disagree with you. I mean, you can make things more intuitive than others. Like icons that are in the shape like of suggesting something, like this tool does something, I guess. I don't know. There's ways to do it.
Well, yeah, you can make stuff more intuitive because look at Windows 3.1. That was the least intuitive thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's a mess.
But there's nothing that's truly intuitive, and it's partially because people think different. When I think of building something, I think I should see a brick. You think you should see a crane. You know what I mean? There's always going to be little things like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think PC Linux OS does a good job for the new users. I think it does a great job for someone who knows Linux but needs to fit a need of a Windows-esque operating system.
I got you. See, it's being used for the wrong purpose then. I mean, I guess it almost defeats the purpose of running Linux if you want it to look and run exactly like Windows.
Honestly, the only reason I can see for somebody doing for like running a Linux system and making it look like Windows systems is they really are sick and tired of getting infected so easily.
Okay.
And that's really the only kind of reason that even crosses my mind. Yeah. Because they both have hurdles that have to be overcome by the new users. I mean, my computer doesn't make sense to a lot of new Windows users. Synaptic Package Manager doesn't make sense to new.
They just need to rename that thing. That's all.
Well, they're trying to with the Ubuntu Software Center, and I can tell you that tool alone has also gotten a lot sharper. I like how they're highlighting applications like featured applications like iTunes does with podcasts.
What is it? The Ubuntu Software Center?
Yeah, it is the add remove it used to be called add remove programs. It's a much more GUI friendly, less powerful in the end, though, I'll say, tool to install applications or search for applications. It is so unbelievably polished and smooth looking. And the one thing I gotta say I like, in previous versions, if you went to install a .deb file, what would pop up was a program called gdeb.
Right.
And it didn't make a lot of sense to the newest of the new users.
So what do they call now? Installer?
Well, no, now when you double click a deb file, it opens up Ubuntu Software Center. So in a familiar setting to an application you should have already seen, it pops up that very same window, and it has the application name that you're going to install, a very good description beneath it of what you're going to install, and then it just has an install button on the side, just like if you were going through that tool looking for audio editors or text editors or any other tool.
I see.
But I gotta say that highlighting feature in there, I think, is very useful, because that's one of the double-edged swords with Ubuntu. The repository has 30,000 things you can download and install. Some people do not like choice. You know, if you go through that Ubuntu Software Center and you already have something in mind, well, I need to edit audio, I need to be able to, change this sound file.
Right.
If you go through that Ubuntu Software Center and you go to multimedia, and then you can go down and much easier find what you're looking for. And I gotta say, it's gorgeous.
Right.
The only downside about it is you do not have as much power to manipulate your choices with an application. You can't purge the application from your system. You can only uninstall. The one thing I haven't seen yet, Ubuntu 10.04, I had two guys contact me. They were in the middle of doing an update, and they had it on their laptop, and they lost power to their laptop. Now, typical Windows computer, you wouldn't be able to boot if you're in the middle of a Windows update and you lose power.
Right.
Ubuntu booted fine, but then when they went to the Ubuntu Software Center, they got a very generic error message, and it helped them not in the least. But when they went into Synaptic Package Manager, the error told them exactly what to type. They copied that verbatim, went to the terminal, typed it, and Ubuntu Software Center worked fine. I don't know in this version if they've done a better job with those error messages, because that was one of the very few things Ubuntu Software Center was missing to be pretty complete for the average user.
I see. So it was almost like a blue screen of death.
It was just duh, I can't work. And they would click it again, duh, I can't work. And it didn't help. The one thing that I hated about virtually every Windows error message I've ever seen in my life was it never helped me at all to find out what's going on with the computer.
Right.
Unless, of course, you verbatim quote, typed it exactly, quote, into Google.
But that doesn't really count. That's like you doing the work. But Ubuntu still has a Synaptic Package Manager, so even if you have the Software Center and you don't like it, for example, you can still use the Synaptic Package Manager.
Well, and the one thing I've heard from a couple other podcasts saying is they hate when they go to another site and someone tells them how to fix something and they tell them commands to do it. I just want to say this was Tux Radar, which gets very mixed feelings from the average Linux user, partially because I believe they know how to take a nail and just twist it right in the right spot to get people upset and to talk about their show. They're smart for doing that, in my bias.
Really?
One of the things they suggested was a operating system that did not ship with a terminal or a command prompt at all. And what they said was what would be interesting is to force people to use it for 60 days and to make each person document when there was not a sufficient GUI tool to get the job done. And to be honest, I thought that was kind of fascinating, to tell you the truth, because the only way you can make an operating system truly user-friendly in my eyes is never having to tell somebody, well, click on accessories, go down to terminal, type sudo space, bada, 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 bada. And there are a couple of things missing like that, like in Ubuntu, the Nautilus file manager. There might be a way, but I've never seen a way to open up Nautilus as root user. If you have to go edit a certain file, the only way you can do it that I know of is via the terminal, or you can do a Alt F2, which is like the run dialog, and say GK sudo, and then you get prompted for super user rights, then you can edit that way. But there's no visual way of saying open File Explorer as root or as admin. So there's definitely certain things missing. And I think, and see, that's why I like Mint. From the first time you have it installed, unless you're trying to do something above and beyond what 90% of the people need to do, you don't have to go into the terminal. And that's why I kind of think it's been successful. And I'm all for enabling new users to have a smooth transition.
Yeah, it's the only way it's going to happen. If you put too big of a jump, then they're going to get lost and confused, and they're not going to like Linux very much. Now, what about Mint as opposed to the new Ubuntu that came out? You still recommend Mint? Like, what's the differences?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, Mint is based off Ubuntu. I'm sure in a couple weeks, probably 3 or 4 weeks, there's going to be a new version of Mint that's going to be based off of Ubuntu 10.10.
Okay.
Mint comes pre-installed with everything you need: Flash, Java, PDF readers, everything you can pretty much think of, you already have. Linux Mint also has a friendlier update window. When you get prompted to process updates in Ubuntu, you're just confronted with this window that says Update Manager, and it lists things archaically that you don't understand. Update-sbin, and then it just is at the bottom, update or cancel. And to the new user, it's not letting them know what's going on. In Mint, it's a much friendlier window that actually says these are system updates. These updates are to protect your system from security threats and to update software. And they do a better job of just displaying each individual package, I'll say. The other thing they have, honestly, I believe they had it before Vista even had it, which is this start menu that has the text box that you can type in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so with Mint, as soon as you hit that button, you can start typing sound, and on the right side, it will say sound configuration.
Does Ubuntu have that?
No. Ubuntu just has a very flat menu-based system, but I can tell you also this. I have not accessed the GNOME or Ubuntu menu system on any regular basis for 3 years, I'd say.
Why? Use keyboard shortcuts or something?
Well, there's 2 tools I've used. I used to use a tool called GNOME Do, GNOME-DO. And one of the things I liked about it was you could put it in Docky mode, which was like Mac OS, with the big, huge icons at the bottom. You would go and you would like hover over them and they would get bigger, and you could do all this kind of stuff. But you could also just hit Control and space, and you could start typing a command, a file, a directory, an action, or a application, or a control panel applet. And it would automatically fill in the rest. You would hit enter and launch. Since then, I've switched to a tool called Kupfer, Kupfer, which does the same, but it's cross desktop friendly, which we're going to get into in a future cast.
You talked about Kupfer before on one of the early shows.
All right, because like with Ubuntu, you're in GNOME. GNOME Do really is meant for GNOME desktop. So if you're using KDE, LXDE, XFCE, OpenBox, Fluxbox, or any of these other ones, GNOME Do will still function, but you have to download a whole bunch of extra stuff. That's the GNOME stuff, and then it still won't work exactly as it should work because it's expecting a GNOME atmosphere. Kulfer will work on other desktops. And it works just as good. The other thing I like about Kulfer is you can batch things together. So you can say, when I hit these hotkeys, launch Pigeon, Chrome, and Evolution. So as soon as you log in, sit down, you can just hit those 3 things, sit back, and in a couple seconds, then things will start popping up and starting to run. And you can also batch commands like copy commands, move commands, mount commands, any kind of commands. You can, if you find yourself doing something repetitively, but you need to do it on demand, like, you know, creating a DVD, for instance, burning an ISO to a DVD, maybe. You could just make a command that you just always hit, you know, Control Alt and B, and it will always burn it for you.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's definitely like caviar. It's not for everyone. You know what I mean? It's definitely not for everyone. But there is a couple YouTube videos that after I watched really opened my eyes up to the power of it. Just like Blender, going back to that again. If you want to learn, if you want to really take advantage of something, you got to do a little bit of research at least.
Some work.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
Yep.
All right, what's this highlight guest mode, or did we already go over that?
Oh, completely forgot. Good eye, good eye. Guest mode is not what Windows users are known for as guest mode. This guest mode is, to me, very good because at any point in time, see, Linux is a true multi-user environment setup. Ubuntu, from the top right corner when you log in, there's a power button kind of thing. If you click that, you can say guest mode.
Okay.
And what it does is it leaves you logged in. So if you have Gwibber up and running, you're still going to get updates. If you have podnutz up and running, listening to a video cast, you're going to still hear it coming out of the speakers. But if you just go to that power button, hit guest mode, you'll be taken into like an XP steady state place.
Sweet.
Where anything that happens to anything during that guest session will get wiped out when you log out of that guest session.
Sweet.
And with kids, guest session is invaluable because Tux Paint is a very well-known kid-centric paint, but it's really not paint. It's paint activity center thing where you can stamp trains, and every time they stamp a train, choo choo, you know, it's an activity center. And if you run it Tux Paint space -- full screen, it's in full screen mode, and it's supposed to be very hard to get out of that full screen mode without exiting. I don't know how my son does it, but once in a while he would exit, and then I would turn around and look at the screen. He's there hitting keys and slamming away, and he's like messing up my desktop. He's making folders, moving stuff. So I found, with a little bit of research, he needs guest mode. Because once in a while I would go in and see him at the desktop, and he would have all kinds of stuff open, stuff thrown over here, folders made down there, and I would just hit log out, and everything he did was gone.
So it's that, and that's just standard, comes with Ubuntu, right?
Yeah. There's more than a couple Linux distros that have that by default, but not close to all of them. To me, this is the perfect feature. If your brother-in-law comes over or something and says, "Hey, can I check my Facebook?" 1 second. So you don't have to worry about him accidentally accessing your data,
right?
And you don't want to know what's going on with his data,
right?
You go into guest mode.
That's awesome. Good tip. I like that one. All right. Well, I feel like you just schooled me. I had almost no input on that show.
Well,
I just sat here and said, "Cool, neat, awesome."
Well, we're always going to bounce around.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that was good. Hey, that's usually how it is. But I mean, I like a lot of this stuff. Every time you talk about the new Ubuntu, I want to install it. But you know what? Yeah. I gotta just get used to my Mint. You know, I just gotta get into Mint and just really mess around with it.
The beautiful thing about Mint is anything anybody tells you to do on Ubuntu, you can do on Mint. So if you're having a problem in Mint, don't type Mint in Google. Type Ubuntu. And 99.99% of the things they tell you to do, you will do the exact same way inside Mint.
Cool. Awesome. All right, Doral. We don't have any emails. I don't have any anyway, and I usually keep track of them. So I think we're gonna wrap it, right?
Okay.
All right. Well, tell us where we could find you. Anything else you want to plug, Dor?
I want to plug crappycrapcrap.com.
Let's see. Has he added anything?
Honestly, I haven't checked for 3 or 4 days. Once I heard about it, I had to go there.
All right. Let's give him a free plug here. All right. Go ahead. What is it?
It is a very entertaining site helping you and me find the worst of everything ever done. And I highly encourage you, if you go to like a local, like if you didn't use Angie's List and you got this local place to come in and carpet clean your carpets, but instead, they cut the tail off your cat, they ruined a piece of furniture, and they messed up your driveway with all the plants on the side. You need to go to Crappy Crap Crap, and you need to send SMD Steve an email explaining as much as possible about just how bad this company was and why they were bad.
Definitely. There's only one post on it right now, and he needs content. So this is SMD. This is Steve D'Amico. You guys know him.
Yeah.
It's just a site which we just all want to see just become a raging success. So there is a tab on crappycrapcrap.com called About Crap. It's next to the home page tab. So if you have something that's just really crappy, send it to him, and then he'll post it, and then we'll all enjoy it. It'll be great.
Yeah, because everybody has dealt with, knows about, or maybe they're the crap, but everybody has experience with dealing with this kind of stuff, and there's finally a place where you can release your frustrations in a productive way.
I agree with you. It's a great thing to plug. crappycrapcrap.com just flows off the tongue. What a nice, pleasant site. Oh, and by the way, his slogan is a medley of hot garbage. That about sums it up. All right, Dor. Well, I think that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you, man, very much for showering us with your knowledge. Appreciate it.
No problem. To be honest, I have lots of fun doing this show.
Me too. I love it. It's a lesson. It's like I'm going to school every Monday night. So I think it's a good time. Hope you guys liked it too. Thanks for watching us if you're watching on video. If you guys want to tune in and see us live, just tune in on Monday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right on the homepage, podnutz.com. You will see us. And you'll see Dor drinking out of a Coke glass, which I absolutely love those glasses. They're amazing. And anybody who's listening to us on the audio podcast, thank you very much. And we're going to see everybody next time. See you later.